you've all got very, well-balanced portfolios. That's part of the multi-asset range, is that you are able to invest broadly across a number of different asset classes, and therefore reduce the risk of any one area affecting negatively. But if you're an advisor sitting with his client and with his investor, or if you're an investor wondering what to do, most people are sitting on the sidelines at the moment. So what would be your one thing that they need to properly think about for their portfolios this year?
I think Walter started with it. I think if you've got time on your side, there's no time like the present to have a well-balanced portfolio that has exposure to equities. Doesn't mean that on a daily basis you're going to make good money and the S&P could come down. But I think it's easier to say and harder to do. But if I'm advising people, I think take that time element, invest for the long term. It generally works. It's not always going to feel nice. And it's easy to say when the market's up and everyone's feeling good, and it's easy to hold. When things fall and you have trust in the people that are managing the money, stick with them, and I think it will work out.
Yeah, I think he's telling my lines. Said it better than I could.
I was going to say, remember we're in it for the medium term.
Yeah.
And that we're actually trying to beat inflation so that you have the power to retire. Yeah. And it's that compounding that goes
and
with
there's
that.
enough asset classes offering the ability to beat inflation at the moment?
I think there are.
Well,
I was going to say, I think that, the number of asset classes that are offering that was going to be my line, was to say, that is increased. The market tends to be more equity focused, but, you are getting dollar yields of 5, 6, 7% hedged back into rands at the moment. You can add another 3% to that. SA government bonds. Okay, yes, maybe you don't want to take, long-term risk on this, but short end, as you mentioned, 2030s, 9.7%.
I bought the RSA retail bond for individuals.
It's
10% for 3-year money.
Yeah.
Compounding.
It's a
you can't beat that. I mean, everyone thinks
you beat that.
No, I won't beat that. Sleep at night. You sleep. I tell you, I did 11 with not sleeping. Yeah, I think that type of thinking. You're right.
Yeah.
There's so much more assets to invest in now than sit in the bank and earn 4% on your call account.
Yeah, I think fixed income has become a very attractive environment, and I think maybe more so than the prior decade, it shouldn't be ignored.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't see why you shouldn't be 40, 50% fixed interest in a balanced fund. How many South African fund managers would do that? If things were positive, you would be 40, 50%.
Yeah.
Omri, last thought from you?
I can't add anything to this intelligent comment.
I'll tell you what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't buy the NASDAQ.
No.
I think that's only advice. Please tell me.
That was going to be my other last question. Well, my other last question was, which of the Magnificent Seven is going to be the biggest disappointment this year?
I don't know. Tesla.
Well, so far it seems.
Look, I don't think looking further out, we actually know when any of them will succeed. I mean, generally these big changes help the consumer the most.
Right.
And the chips that NVIDIA make today might be replaced by somebody else going forward. And Google might find that they lose all their advertising because it's easier to ask ChatGPT than it is to actually search.
Right.
So there's a lot of change coming. What we're going to see in the next year, that's hard to say.
Yeah.
I think the opposite of the question is actually what you have to ask is what industries are going to be seriously impacted by what the productivity that the Magnificent Seven have brought to the global economy. Because AI, I don't think we realize the full impact that's going to have on companies and on industries. Some industries are going to disappear. Now, it almost, that's what we also said when the internet started.
We've had AI for quite a long time.
But it's just the pace of acceleration.
No, you're right. The exponential growth is there. But you're going to need a lot of my energy then to push those machines.
Sure, but there are going to be, when the internet came, and when DVDs appeared, videos disappeared. When digital came, DVDs disappeared. Now, if you think of AI, the impact it's got on mundane task industries like lawyers or
investment analysts,
investment analysts or accounting.
But, it's so I used AI to draw up a legal agreement, but there's one clause missing because the top lawyer understood it. So it's hard. That's the problem. It can generate it. it can generate a lease agreement, but remember the landlord's also now generating his own lease agreement using ChatGPT-4. And that's going to be the tricky thing, you know. I think we'll all become hairdressers and chefs from now on.